approval. But I need to say that you all
We're not
want,
approving anything, we're just getting the,
you have to give me direction, I will do, I'll bring back, and then you can ask for approval. So I'm asking for direction as to allow me to go and prepare a budget, to do this plan, to get ready to do that. But it's time constraints, I mean, Christmas will be here before we
So
know
you're
it.
saying you would actually take away an employee to,
No.
No, sir. No, sir.
to hire?
but that would be under the action item.
That would be under the action item. We have to come back, because I need to flesh out the ideas. As you see, I've spoken to the comptroller about it. I spent some time with our city secretary about it, because she has a history, I don't. I haven't spent any time with Gloria at all, other than talking about a preliminary date, if what was available on her calendar. So you allow me to put together some things for my staff, and then we can bring back a budget for you to approve, so that we can move forward.
And
That's
now,
what creating this committee, right?
Creating committee, the bylaws, and talking to the different, it's a whole lot we have to do.
now this study, whatever you're gonna be doing, how is the city staff gonna be paid? Through city funds or,
I'm gonna be involved.
they're already talking about it.
Because you said it would be a group of volunteers with the select board, and they hire a marketer.
Well, we have the comptroller saying that a board wouldn't be the correct way to go.
She's
And
thinking
can we do that
long-term.
before that cycle ranch meets,
Well, I think what Todd is speaking to is long-term, as we put things in place. We don't want it to be where we lose control. I am a little control freak, but as we lose control in reference to setting a board, we have to wait for them to approve.
Right.
And so we have to do some of these things simultaneously, because they'll be here definitely before our Christmas event, if you all choose to go have a Christmas event.
yeah, and he's talking about coming to the next meeting, I think.
He's coming on the 12th. So what we want to be able to do is to allow staff to prepare some budgets, because she hasn't prepared one, to crunch some numbers. I need to look back at the numbers that we may find on file in reference to the last two events, so that I can give you the history of that, and to look to see what we can do. Ultimately, I also would like to look at, hire some professionals and see how we can do it. As I said, there's a Texas Tourism Industry Association that we can talk about how we can find some of those candidates that are trained. But I just need to I don't want to go have this whole big budget and then say, here it is, you need to approve it. I need to be able to crunch some numbers and to see.
Why can't, like the Parks Foundation, why couldn't they just take it on their own and start handling that? I mean, if that's what Mr. Doug is proposing.
And you're on the liaison.
I sit on that board only in the capacity of liaison. I do not have a vote.
Correct.
But they have a meeting the Thursday, what do you think?
Yeah, we could have a special meeting, and to answer your question, the board would have to approve it. And I'm not certain now that you're talking about using the tax, since we elected to remove from our bylaws the Open Meeting Act, that we would be legal even to take that task on, since it's taxpayer dollars, to actually be in charge of the money, without putting the bylaws back together to put us back underneath the Texas Open Meeting Act.
And
I'm sorry,
I think the Texas Open Meeting Act was controlled anyway, it supersedes your bylaws. It'd be good for it to be in there to be in agreement, but I think the Open Meeting Act is controlled anyway if there's city money.
I'd like to make a comment, Henrietta.
Yes, sir.
The people will get confused once you start saying taxpayers, general fund, for weed eaters and all that stuff, and then the hotel motel. So let me set the record clear. This is just hotel motel tax, period.
Yes, sir, that's why I put it on the agenda.
That's it.
It's
Right, but
motel.
But that people are gonna get confused. They're gonna start saying, they're gonna take money out of the general fund, it's the taxpayers.
But whenever,
Motel tax,
but whenever,
there's where it's coming from,
but
exactly.
whenever the city staff is involved in doing any type of work outside of their
New
normal
ones.
scope of work, that is coming from the general fund and not from the hotel motel.
No,
Is there a way,
we will be coming from the hotel motel.
Eric,
That's the reason,
is there a way you can cross-charge that money?
no. That's the reason why my suggestion was to hire an employee
Right.
to handle the hotel
Hotel
motel
motel,
tax
right.
that is gonna be paid out of the
Exactly.
hotel motel tax That's gonna be the employee that is gonna be the organizer of all the events for the city. But there is no money being touched out of general fund, it's only hotel motel tax. But this one person is gonna make sure that, for example, the ranch event, it is going to come through Floresville. And we, the city, the taxpayers will spend no money on that because that employee, even though it's employee of the city, but it's not being paid out of general fund, it will be paid out of hotel motel tax.
But it's going to take city staff in order to set it up, because it just doesn't happen spontaneously. So I need to be able to prepare a budget, I need to be able to get a list of people who are certified in this, because they do have certified people. And when we start spending this money, we need to make sure that we do all of the different recordings that we have to do with the state comptroller, and we're doing the filing. And they're gonna come looking at us pretty soon. You have $1 million, you get up to $1 million in your hotel motel tax, you have to spend any money, they're gonna say, why are you taxing us? So we need to be able to say we have activity, that we've been able to monitor correctly, that we have a staff that we can look at that will come and do these lovely reports and PowerPoints for you as well, and to make sure they follow and coordinate those efforts
Now,
based on your direction. But we have to do city staff first, so while we go out and get this person.
now, what kind of person would we be hiring?
What
What
I-
kind of credentials would we be looking for?
Well, there's a class that you can take to be certified in that is called TTIA, the Texas Tourism and Industry Association. We would hire someone and have written me a job description of what the classes are that would have these credentials. And I can bring that back to you at the next meeting. To say, these are the qualifications that we have. I would hate to say that probably nobody I have on staff right now would qualify for that. That does not mean to demean my staff. I mean, I have a team behind me that works really, really hard. But I need to be able to bring some people who have some expertise in marketing, and this is what they've done for a living, to have us all learn in reference to that. I know more about the Texas two-stamp based on what I met at the TML, so that's really, really important. So we need to be able to get professional staff in place that we can be able to do that. And with $700,000, we can definitely be able to do that.
Let me just remind you, Mayor, that the things we're talking about right now, they're not even on the agenda. They're not even on the agenda.
Henrietta,
Yes, ma'am.
earlier we spoke, Lou, you were there, and we were talking about this group, this
Advisory board.
advisory board. And I thought that I understood that council would have final say as to what would be approved for spending. In other words, if they wanted to put on whatever, they would bring us the cost and everything else, and the council would vote and say, yes, go for it.
Mayor, from my perspective, everything needs to have council approval. So their budget and individual events, even if you had budgeted $10,000 for a Christmas event downtown, and you approved it back in the beginning of the fiscal year, it would need to come before you and say, this is what they're pledging to do for you to have approval. So yes, any and
Ms.
everything.
Connie had said that they would have full control, so I got a little.
She said she
confused there.
doesn't want that to happen.
No, I don't want
With
that.
all due respect, the gentleman that came earlier, we never said anything to him, and he expects to come to the next meeting.
Mayor, point of order, this item, this discussion is not even on the agenda. Is it valid?
Well, it's part of.
No, it's not part of it.
We're only supposed to be discussing the
It is not part of
extravaganza.
it.
And there's a discussion of the extravaganza.
To
We
eat.
have a CNA coming up on just directing staff on proceeding.
In that case, conversation is over. We're going on to item 2F.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Tahada asked for me to bring up an overview of where we are. in the USDA
Can you read the
grant.
line? I don't get to do very much
Go
up here,
ahead,
you
go
know.
right ahead.
Okay, 2F, update on the USDA loan for sewer expansion.
On February 8th, myself and the comptroller, Andrew Berlantes, and Mr. Heimer met with Betty Soto. She is the area specialist from the USDA office in Seguin. She's the one who processed all the paperwork that we have done. So we were able to prepare, you all approved the engineering report. We took that to her. We talked about the scope of work. The good news is that they want us to come back and look at doing another rate study for our sewer, because some of the data that they had was a little dated, if you remember, but The initial application was looking at water and sewer. This was only going to be, we were only proposing sewer. And so they need to come back and make sure to do a sewer analysis. And so at Raul, that's his name, right? Raul will be coming back doing a study and help us do that. So what Mr. Heimer is preparing is the contract. Now, the contract is for the contract for the entire project. I think we're about $5.6 million. And so the contract itself is what he's sending to Temple, Texas, and their office they approve, and the preliminary engineering report. What they want to do is get an okay from USDA that it's in line, that it meets, in compliance, and then bring it to you for full approval so that we can move forward. We don't want to have you approve the contract, we send it off to Temple, Texas, and they go, oh, we need to have this, or this wasn't right, you tweak this, and then you have to come back and approve it again. So Mr. Heimer's putting that forward and taking it on. We're hoping to have that ready on the 12th, but we'll see. This is going to take between 4 to 6 months for us to finish the last of the application process. Once that's done and we get full approval, then we can move forward. Hopefully, construction in 2016, because we'll spend the rest of 2015 finishing up the application process. You don't have to tell me. So construction can happen in 2016 to be complete and operable in 2017.
Let me repeat, so the newspaper, I think, is keeping track of that building in 2016,
Construction in 2016.
completion by 2017.
Construction by 2017, yes, sir. And we can spend the rest of 2015 to do it. Now, just so that the paper can get it as well, we're talking about a new expansion plant. The infrastructure, as well as 2 lift stations, is all part of that process. It comes to about $5.6 million. Most of that, hopefully, we can get in a low-interest loan, but there may be grant money out there, so I may need some political push when it's time, but right now I need to get through the application process. We don't want to ask for any assistance politically until we make sure that our application is good and has a thumbs up. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Once I get the thumbs up on the application, then we can go ahead and ask for people to give us support.
And we think that capacity will take us to, for how long?
He projected for 30 years.
30 years, right?
Where will those lift stations be put in?
I'm sorry.
Where will the lift
It's
stations go?
the 2 existing lift stations
those.
to replace those and upgrade those. We don't want to put any additional ones, just to upgrade those existing ones.
Madam Mayor, I need to say something about that because we've got Puerto Rico, we've got the one over there at the golf course, and then we've got the one down by the pecan. And when Mr. Tejada asked the question, will this be done by this date? That's assuming no new growth in many areas. If we get new growth and we have to re-engineer those lift stations, that time will be delayed.
Well, now, I talked to Mr. Heimer in reference to who did the preliminary design on Riverbend. As far as the sewer and lift station, that's when it was designed. It was designed for the full project in all its phases going forward. So that lift station is fine, and that is one of the newer lift stations. The other 2 definitely need to be re-engineered to do that. So remember, Mr. Heimer did the water modeling, and so he completed that. What's going to be coming before you probably in March, definitely April, because March is filling up. In April and May is an impact fee, so as new people come in, now that we have the model, we can actually say your subdivision is impacted X amount, and so it should cost you that much for cost sharing. So we're going to do that for our sewer model, because we have that completed, and now we're also going to do that for our water model that will be coming up for you in April.
The grant program is helping with this application.
This application is mostly very engineering, and there's an additional sewer, yes ma'am, for grant works that you got from that. Now, the nice thing about grant works, thank you for reminding me of that, ma'am. The nice thing about grant works is that it can go in conjunction with the application itself. So if we ask for 5.6, and we're able to get $200,000 of grant works from CDBG, then we can actually add that. It doesn't take away from our application. It just means I don't have to borrow that other $300,000.
I have a question, Henrietta, about those lift stations. Would it affect annexation? Would we need more?
Annexation that we plan on doing, we will need, it will affect not necessarily the risk, but you have to actually put in the sewer line itself. We have to establish the sewer line. And that's going to be coming up, and we're going to have those questions for you when we're ready to start the annexation. So I can make sure I talk about what's on the agenda and not get off. One last thing, Mayor. Mr. Heimer will be coming back before you, and I will have him bring the presentation again so that we can talk about all the different, so he can go over that project again, so we can make sure all the components are in place.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item 2G, our financials for January 2015, revenue and expense fund balances and sales tax.
Good evening again. Okay, my report includes a spreadsheet that has also been available, put available for the public so they can follow through. And what I have the month of January, revenues and expenditures, total for fund on the spreadsheet. And also I have an update on the fund balance, including those revenues and expenditures. And the two major funds that I would like to address and talk about will be general fund, Fund 301. Our revenues collected year to date, which will be January 31st, 2015, has been $1,447,757. Our expenditures year to date, up to January 31st, has been $1,068,710, giving us a balance from revenues and expenditures of $379,046. That amount will be added to our beginning fund balance, unaudited, of $162,348, giving us a total of $541,394 fund balance year to date as of January 31st.
Connie,
Yes.
excuse me, is it a fair statement to say that we're doing well?
If we continue the trend
Correct.
of the expenditures right now
Right.
being controlled, yes, we are doing well. And when we move on to the approved line item for the budget amendment, I'm also gonna expose additional revenue that we had not accounted for when we did the budget, and that also is increasing our fund balance.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I would like to now go to the utilities fund. And the reason why I want to talk about this fund is because this fund is very important for the USDA loan. Our expenditures, revenues collected as of January 31st is $767,214. Our expenditures exceeded our collections year to date. We have expended $124,737, giving us a negative of revenues against expenditures of $57,522. The reason for this negative balance is because we had an unexpected expense for the Plaza well, and that began in October. So it started with the budget. We had not anticipated this expense, so later on, and I believe it's gonna be in the month of April, I'm gonna go ahead and come in with another budget amendment so we can increase the budget for these fund, so we can increase it to account for those expenditures.
Excuse me, Connie, what was that reason for? I didn't understand it.
That
Oh,
last,
okay, the seven.
yes.
Right.
Okay, Council Consequently, instead of our fund balance at the end of February 31st, January 31st, instead of our fund balance increasing, it went down by $100,000, or a little bit less. Our general fund has been on track with the expenditures and also the collections of revenue. Our sales tax for the month of January collection was $266,946. The city allocation of that collection was $133,473, which is an increase of $10,723 compared to the January of 2014. And I want to remind you that when we work on this budget, and we were working on the budget workshops, I did inform council that I was not going to increase sales tax because I really know how it was going to go, if it was going to go up or down. Luckily, it's been going up, it's been going well, so this money has not been accounted for in the budget. So that's an additional revenue that the city has so far.
I have a question. During the budget, I wasn't here, did y'all make that estimation?
Yes, I did, and actually, our revenue for sales tax went up from 13 million to 15 million on sales tax.
But why?
I remember.
It's not there anymore, that estimation.
Because I didn't put it on the budget, sir. The budget is just an estimate. And I didn't want to increase sales tax, and then all of a sudden, because, and as we also have seen, the oil field has gone down. So that means that a lot of people has been laid off. So a lot of people has left. So sales tax get affected. For the month of November and December, sales tax went down. And our revenue for those 2 months, they were like $1,000 and some difference above from last year. So that's how sales tax works. It goes up and down depending on the time of the year, if there's a holiday. So you cannot budget for something that you're not sure that you're gonna get. Behind these, you will have the spreadsheet where I go ahead and do the allocation for each department of sales tax. And this is for your information. So if you have any questions on these, I will be glad to answer.
How's our 90-day reserve looking?
It's increasing so far, but I don't want to anticipate and say, oh, we're, doing very well, and then something happens, a crisis or something, that we're going to have to use some of that money. But so far, we're doing okay.
So we do have a reserve?
Yes. Mhm. Besides the $162,000, Mayor, it's in your packet, we have on fund balance maintenance, $299,000. Remember you saw it there when we were going through the budget?
I also remember asking you, we were working on a reserve, and you told me
Yes.
no.
No, I said yes. But we're not there yet.
The 90 days, the whole full
Yeah.
90 days.
I have enough in there for maybe 30 days, but we are not where we're supposed to be.
And
But
that
it's
is
going in
supposed to
the
be
right
90
track.
days?
90 days, yes, sir.
But
Sir?
it is going in the right track.
It is going on the right track, but until the audit is finished and I can give you an audited fund balance from 2014, then I can tell you, okay, now we can breathe, we're doing well, now we need to see how we're gonna do this year. Do you all have any more questions?
When will the audit be completed?
It will be finalized on March 26th. It will be presented to the council. That will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
we're going to go on to item 3A, new business. Consideration and action to approve an amendment to the City Code of Ordinances 153.030H, Section I, adding the following last meeting.
Madam Mayor, may I vote?
Yes, you may.
If you recall last meeting, I think a number of you had questions, and Councilman Tejada, I think, asked the question, could we change the wording somewhat, or modify the wording, so that, and I think there were several other council members wanted the same thing, that we would be making an exception only for homes existing in the city if we extended the period of time from 15 to 20. So I've added the paragraph I, which says, provided however any mobile home proposed for relocation qualifying within the 20-year requirement and located within the city may be relocated to a properly zoned site upon inspection and securing any appropriate permit and complying with the requirements of the code.
Excluding
That's
the
the
ETJ,
additional language that you all discussed.
excluding the ETJ or including the ETJ?
I'm not speaking to the ETJ at all, it's in the city. The answer is excluding the ETJ. So that has the extra paragraph. And with that in mind, I did bring a secretary's certificate tonight for the city secretary because there was some time issue here. And my recommendation is to approve it with this amendment or this additional paragraph, and to have the mayor sign and the secretary attest upon your approval.
Okay. I so move to approve the amendment to City Code of Ordinances 153.030.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Tejada, second by Councilman Ortiz. Councilman Rodriguez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
All opposed? Does anyone in the audience have any questions on it? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to go on to item 3B, consideration and action to approve budget amendment 2015-001, General Fund 301 to General Administration 301-501-27102. Ms. Connie.
Okay, this is what I was previously talking about. In January, I want to say the first or maybe the second week of January, a letter was delivered to me, hand delivered to my office, where Phelps was letting the city know, informing the city that the franchise fees payments were going to be increased from $49,879.08 to $61,985.86. That's an increase of revenue of $12,106.78 per month. If we calculate that for the remainder of the year from January 1st to September 30th, that will be $121,067.80 in additional revenue. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because we also had an unexpected expenditure with the WIC building, which is owned by the city and is rented by the WIC. They had a problem with the air condition where the motor gave out, and based on the advice of the repairman, the person that was going to repair the air condition, he says that he could repair or replace the motor, but the coils could have been damaged also. So we could have ended up spending $1,000, open it up, try to fix the air condition, and then end up 2 or 3 weeks later having to replace the entire unit. I don't believe on spending money on a guest, so I knew that we had this additional revenue by the time that I was informed about the air condition. So the city manager and I, we talked, and we thought that the best thing was to replace the unit, which was $9,000. So I'm here to ask you to amend the budget and increase the franchise tax revenue by the $121,068 to increase an expenditure account that I just newly created for the WIC building maintenance for $9,000, which the bill, and you have it included on the amendment, is only $8,580, but I wanted to leave a little bit of money there just in case something else happened. And then the rest of the money, which is $112,068, I put it on the fund balance
Excuse
maintenance.
me, correction, it's 121.
No, the remainder,
That's the remaining.
no.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and save and put on fund balance to increase the fund balance. Hopefully, we will not need this money to do any other emergency repair, and we will be able to accumulate it on the fund balance.
One quick question, Connie.
Yes,
Does
sir.
this fall under where we don't have to go up to bids on that?
It is less than $25,000, and this is a service, so we already have.
That's all one invoice. so it's one-
Yes, and we're using the same person that repairs the air conditions at the Civic Center and the city.
They don't do the service here. Just, they're
Just
doing,
here?
yeah, they're just doing, it's Bryan Air Conditioning, they're doing service and maintenance on our building in the winter. And
This franchise fee's already been initiated?
Well, with this amendment, that's exactly what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go ahead and increase the budget to account for that increase of the franchise fees. So that
But the
is
franchise fees that are coming from
Phelps,
Phelps, correct? They've already been accepted and approved through Phelps.
I already received the first payment in January for that amount. And I actually received the January 31st.
In reality, this is a ratification of what's taken place already.
Yes.
You're approving what she's done as prudent fiscal matter, so it shows on the audit.
Although the expense for the air condition has not been done yet. What you have is a proposal. The repair for the air condition has not been done yet.
yes, they have.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, we have, you know, as you know, you're landlords for that property, and WIC is for they do for children and low-income families, and so they have a leak. And so we cannot allow them to function, have children in that building with no heat and no air conditioning at all. And so we had to, it was an emergency, so we had to move forward to do that, and we're hoping that you can approve the budget amendment.
Yeah, that's why it's a ratification.
All right, Mayor, then I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment 2015-001 general fund. General admission 301-501-2702.
Second, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilman Guerrero, second by Councilman Ortiz. Councilman Tejada, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Yes.
Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Okay, now to item 3C, consideration and action to direct city staff to begin planning the holiday extravaganza.
Mayor, let me make another comment before we make a motion. We had a gentleman earlier that wants to bring visitors to town. This event that we're talking about in December has the same purpose. We want these things to work. We don't have a board, we don't have a marketing director at this time. So I'm going to make the motion that we appoint our city manager, Henrietta Turner, to develop a budget for the holiday extravaganza for December the 5th, 2015. And we're just approving it, we're just going to make a budget.
Is that proper, Rosenberg?
It's under C, right?
It says C, and it says city staff, and your city manager, chief of your city staff, so I would think that'd be appropriate.
Yes.
A second, Mayor.
He's your chief of staff.
Okay, so if I
But the intermittent budget. Yeah.
Then I
Is
have
that, is that what you requested, Ms. Henrietta?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, I have a motion by,
Is there a report back date on that?
Can we say at our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
I have a motion by Councilman Tejada and second by Councilman Ortiz.
Correct.
Councilman Rodriguez, how do you vote?
I just want to make sure that it's worded properly so that there's no manipulation of the,
I believe Lou said it was.
who's necessarily not right all the time.
Mayor, if you can have the secretary read the motion back. Monica? Monica, can you read the motion?
Approving, it's a motion approving the city manager to prepare a budget for the extravaganza by the
To be held December the 5th, 2015.
next meeting, to put it, to commence.
Councilman Tejada, I'm sorry, could you repeat you would make sure you have it right, it was your motion.
To authorize the city manager to prepare a budget for the holiday extravaganza to be held December the 5th, 2015.
And then do we, when you come back, do we either yea or nay on the budget?
Yes.
That you present?
Yeah.
So it still gives us an option either way.
So authorize city manager to approve or to
To develop.
Not
To
to
develop.
approve, to develop one, and present budget.
or to prepare.
Okay, can we read it one more time so we can make sure that we understand what they're voting on? I just want to make sure the motion represents what Councilman Tejada wants.
Authorize the city manager to prepare a budget for the holiday extravaganza on December
And bring
5th.
back the council.
I'll be back on the council the next meeting.
And I'd suggest the word propose it, budget.
Okay, so you're gonna change it, you want to propose a budget.
Now, can we incorporate what the Cycle Ranch is also requesting as well, instead of holiday extravaganza?
You want to add it?
That will have a separate item.
Well, usually
That was
that's
voted on.
what amendment. But I'm saying mainly to just leave it as, to propose a budget for
December
events or,
No,
okay.
no.
And I'm sorry, you can't amend his motion. So we can have the right motion so everybody can vote on it. Madam Secretary, could you please read the motion?
They keep talking back and forth, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's Councilman Tejada's motion. So can you read Councilman Tejada's
Do we
motion?
want visitors here for that?
I think
Authorize the city manager to prepare a budget and propose a budget for December 5th, 2015? Is that what you said?
For the holiday extravaganza to be held 12.
Budget for the holiday extravaganza,
I say leave the date out.
held December 5th, but that's what he said.
Well,
So,
you want to have the date secure in case we do vote on it.
Okay. One more time, please.
one more. Authorize the city manager to prepare a budget, propose a budget for the holiday extravaganza to be held December 5th, 2015.
Is that correctly?
I think so.
And it will be reported back on the next agenda,
Yes.
which will be 3/12/15.
Okay, now, Councilman Rodriguez, how do you vote?
Do they have to redo their motion?
No.
Just checking.
Yes,
Just checking procedure here. Okay. Yes.
Councilman Guerrero?
Yes.
Does anybody
Thank
in the audience
you.
have anything? Thank you. Now we're gonna go to item 4, executive session. 4A, pursuant to section 5, excuse me, I've got the floor. Pursuant to section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code Personnel Matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, Municipal Court Prosecutor Richard Evans. May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
I'll make a motion to move it to executive session.
I have a motion, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilman Tejada, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Councilman Ortiz?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries 4-0. The time is 9:30.
You can go on this, okay?